A very good afternoon to all my dear students. I, Professor Shaurya Shah, welcome you to the 6th lecture of Entrepreneurship Development SY BBA Semester 3. I hope each and every student is well at your place. Dear students, in the last lecture we studied about team building in detail. We studied various factors affecting team. We studied various factors affecting team building also. We studied what do you mean by team. Again, we saw the importance of team building in that part, right? Apart from that, we also saw the leadership in team building. We saw what do you mean by leadership in detail, right? What do you mean by leadership styles? We studied these 3 types of leadership in detail, along with that advantages and limitations. Fine. So I hope everyone is now clear with the part of team building and leadership. Today we'll be continuing with the last part of leadership, that is characteristics of leadership, and then we'll be starting with the strategic planning. Fine. So I suppose everyone is ready with the lecture. Fine. Now students, as we saw in the last lecture, what do you mean by leadership? Leadership is the ability to build up confidence and zeal among the people and to create an urge in them to be led, right? So who is the leader? You may take several examples in today's time period who are leaders in political field, who are leaders again in sports field, who are leaders in again religious field. So all those leaders, right, they are having specific characteristics. So leadership characteristics, we'll be studying it in detail. Amongst that, the very first is your personal skill. Now when you are becoming a leader, right, you are having a leadership quality. So in that, personal skill is very much important. What do you mean by personal skill? You should have a unique skill so that people whom you are leading should take a influence from you, students, right? So personal skill, may be it any kind of skill, may be expertise in any field, maybe specialization in any field, but that personal skill, either of convincing the people, either a very good communication skill, either a decision making skill, so that skills are to be needed, right? So the very first characteristics is a personal skill. Second is followers. You cannot become a leader unless you have some followers, right? So who is a leader? A leader is a person whom many people follows. So followers is the second characteristics. Without existence of followers, you cannot become a leader. Whom you will lead? You will lead your followers. The third is your process of influence, right? As I told you, another meaning of a leader. Who can you told as a leader? A leader is a person who influences the behavior of other and who makes them work for achievement of common objective, right? So a process of influence is included in the leadership skills, right? You can influence the people in any of the way by showing your work, by showing your skills, so that people are attracted towards you and they are influenced by your behavior, right? So process of influence is included in leadership. Fourth is attaining entrepreneurial objectives, right, dear students? Attaining the entrepreneurial objectives. Why we are working, why you are leading your followers, right? Because you need to attain certain entrepreneurial objectives. So you as a leader have decided certain objectives. In order to attain them, you need certain followers, and to again you lead them in the way of giving them their delegation of authority. You give them responsibilities, you give them work, so that they complete it on time and they attain the entrepreneurial objective. That is also one of the characteristics of leadership. With the help of leader, it becomes easy for the followers to attain the entrepreneurial objectives, because he leads the way, right? He or she. Next is dynamic leadership, right? What is dynamic leadership? Dynamic leadership means a leader is a person, right, who changes continuously according to the change in situation, right? It is dynamic in nature. So it is flexible in nature. It is not rigid. Sometimes it happens that those leaders who do not change with the changing situation or circumstances or threats or opportunities, then they are not able to survive in the business, right? So leadership is dynamic in nature. It can change according to change in circumstances, according to the requirements, and according to the demand of the situation of the business, fine? So these are the main 5 characteristics, students. You are clear with that, I suppose. So the very first among that is personal skill, second is followers, third is process of influence, fourth is attaining the entrepreneurial objectives, and the fifth is dynamic in nature. Is it clear? Fine. Now moving on, we have completed the leadership along with your teamwork. The next topic for today, the important topic, is your strategic planning. Right, students? I hope many must of you have must again be clear with this topic, right? You must be aware of the word that is strategic planning, right? Planning, you all must be knowing, to plan something. Now what do you mean by strategic planning? That you have to study in this particular topic, right? As you can see in the image, there are various terms which are used, right? The very first is mission statement. Now all the terms which we are studying, right, you can see these terms in any of the practical company which you can again study, right? Mission statement, vision statement, strategic drivers. What are the strategic drivers? That will be clear once we study this, right? We will study all these terms once we complete with the strategic planning. Next is critical business issues, critical success factors, SWOT analysis. Again, you must be clear with the SWOT analysis, that is strength, weakness, opportunity, threat, long-term objectives and tactical initiatives. So your strategic planning is basically related to your long-term planning of the business, including each factor which you can see right now on your screen. Fine. So shall we begin with the strategic planning? We will start the topic with what is strategic planning first, right? What is the definition, or we can say meaning, of strategic planning? I have put exclusively all the points so that you can read itself in the PPT and you can learn the points and understand the points. Fine. To begin with, what is the definition of strategic planning, students? To understand first, it is the process of documenting and establishing a direction of your business. Understand the definition in parts. It is the process of documenting and establishing a direction of your business by assessing both where we are and where we are going, right? Again, strategic planning, first of all, keep in mind it is related to long-term planning of the business, right? May be done by any of the company, may be done by any of the business. But what is it? It is basically a process of documenting and establishing, right? You have to decide a direction, where I am right now and where I am going to go after certain years, right? Suppose today I decide my company's turnover is 100 crore rupees. Say for example, I decide that after 5 years I need my company's turnover to be 2000 crore rupees, right? So this is just an example. I have decided a way. Suppose it can be also related to market share. Today my company's market share, take for example of a practical example of Reliance Jio Infocom, right? So Jio is a company who entered the market 4 years or 3 years back, right? They were having a market share which was limited. Now today if you see, they have launched various platforms related to JioMeet, JioMart, then they have again various kinds of applications developed. So what they are doing, they are strategically planning their business, where they are right now and where they are going to be in future. So I suppose it is clear. Fine. So what is it? It is a process of developing where we are and where we are going to go. So you have to decide a strategic policy. What does it give? Strategic planning gives us a place to record our mission, vision and values, as well as our long-term goals and action plans we will use to reach them. What is our mission statement? What is our vision statement? And what are the values on which our long-term goals and action plans are decided? That we decide in particular strategic planning, right? So what is it? It is a particular plan. It is not your routine plan. It is a strategic plan which gives the idea regarding mission, vision and values, right? So we'll understand these terms also. What do you mean by mission statement, vision statement, once we complete strategic planning. What is it? Again, a well-written strategic plan can play a very important role in small business growth and success. Because why? It tells us and our employees how best to respond to opportunities and challenges, right? If you have a very clear strategic plan in your mind, students, right? Again, when you are running the business and also that plan is clear to your employees, it gives us very good opportunity to find our business a place in the market and to progress in future. Fine. So business growth and success depends mostly upon the strategic plan, which is for longer period of time. I suppose you are clear with strategic planning now, right? What is it? Basically, it is a process which shows the path for the long-term growth of the business. Now, one analysis, students, Despite of the benefits of having a strategic plan in place, a growing number of small business owners are not focusing on short-term strategies, right? On long-term strategies, right? Generally, if I am a small business owner, if I am a budding entrepreneur, what I'll do is I plan generally for 1 year, 2 year, or not more than that, fine. But it is not, again, we can say relevant. You need to plan continuously for a longer time period also, so that you can survive in the market. There is one analysis, students, in 2018, a context survey of 1005 small business owners was done. 63% out of that said that they plan only a year or less in advance, right? So once you are knowing that you are planning only for a year, now any contingency takes place, now any unfortunate event takes place, right? So your entire plan is again washed out. So you need to prepare a long-term plan showing you the path. Now that long-term plan, long-term strategy can be subdivided into short-term and medium-term plans. So once you start achieving, you are clear with what you want to achieve in the coming years, you can achieve those in the particular years also, right? Suppose after 5 years I need to cover the market share up to 50%, and today I am having a market share of around 10%. So what I'll do is I will divide my market share strategic planning into years, that every year I will increase my market share by 10 years, so that I come to know that after 5 years I'll be having a market share of 50%, right? So again, this is analysis which is shown. Generally it is not done by small owners. That is why entrepreneurs need to do strategic planning. Now the next topic in your syllabus, students, is your strategic planning process, right? What is strategic planning process? Again, the process can be differing from the business unit to business unit. For company it may be different, for entrepreneurs it may be different, but basically we can divide your process into three main stages, students, right? So what are those stages? Let's begin. The application of strategic planning in business is a result of difficult managerial decisions that comprise good and less desirable course of action, right? Now, when you are deciding the strategy, students, it is not easy, right? You need to take into account every kind of resources which are available, every kind of, we can say, financial resources, human resources, marketing resources. So you decide those resources, you see the availability and your capability of the business or the company, and then managerial decisions are to be taken, right? So development and execution of strategic plan is a well thought out plan performed in three critical steps. You cannot again haphazardly decide the strategy for the business which will lead your business for years. It can lead to again collapse of business, right? So what you need to do is, it is a very well thought plan. You take advice of the experts, you discuss, you decide, you evaluate your business, and then you take decision regarding your strategic planning. I hope it is clear to everyone. So what is the process divided into? The process is divided into three main stages, right? Amongst that, the very first is your strategy formulation. Second is your strategy implementation, and the third is your strategy evaluation. I hope everyone is clear with that. We'll be starting with the first step, that is strategy formulation, right? Now what do you do, students, when you start preparing the strategy formulation? Understand the each steps carefully. Each one is dependent upon the another, fine? So what do you do first? Same like your planning. The very first is, the business assesses its current situation by performing an internal and external audit, right? What are your business goals? What is the position of the business at present? That you need to assess, right? How you can assess it? By doing internal and external audit. You can internally do a research in your business. You can internally find through a survey what is the position of the business, what you want to achieve first of all, what is the existing situation of the business, right? That is your internal organization. External audit means in the business environment outside your business, you will see what is the position of the business related to the industry, what is the difference between them, what you want to achieve, and how you can achieve it, right? So by performing an internal and external audit, you will assess your business situation. The next is your strategy formulation also involves identifying the organization's strengths and weaknesses as well as opportunities and threats, that is SWOT analysis, right? Earlier only in the image we saw SWOT analysis, right? The most important thing a business should do before preparing a strategy. Now remember, students, out of your SWOT, S and W, that is strengths and weakness, are always related to your internal organization, that is internal business. That is in your control. You can change it, you can improve it, right? You can increase your strength, you can reduce your weaknesses. Opportunities and threats are always related to external business environment, students, right? So external business environments, naming a few of the threats, that is related to your technological changes, that is related to your government policies, that is related to your natural factors, right? Government policies changes, it is not in your control, you have to adopt it. If any, we can say opportunity comes, then say for example during the COVID-19 pandemic situation, right? It is a threat to the business basically, but many of the business converted this threat into opportunities by taking the advantages of the products which are available and products which are in demand right now. Fine. So strength and weaknesses, they increased their strength to produce the new products and they took the opportunity. When you are having weaknesses, the threat overcomes your business. Fine. So strategy formulation involves SWOT analysis. The next step in that particular stage is it results in long-term effects of an organizational successes. Only the top business executives understand their impact and are authorized to assign the resources necessary for the implementation, right? So in your first stage basically of strategy formulation, what do, students? You first perform the internal and external audit, right? Internal and external audit is related particularly to your assessment of business position. Now, after assessing the internal and external audit, you perform the SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis is for identifying the organization's various positions, strength, weakness, opportunities, and threat. After deciding SWOT analysis, what do? You allocate the resources necessary for the implementation of the strategy. What are the financial resources needed? What are the human resources needed, right? So you allocate those resources. Now, who allocates this, students? This is allocated by only the top business executives. Why? Because they understand the impact of it and they are having again specialized knowledge and experience, so that resources can be used to the optimum extent. I hope it is clear to every student. Fine. So this was our first step, strategy formulation. Moving on to the next step, that is your strategy implementation, right? Now students, what do you mean by strategy implementation? After the strategy formulation, the company needs to establish short-term goals. These are generally used for 1-year goals, devise policies, and allocate resources for their execution, right? Once you decide a long-term strategy, as I give the example of covering the market share over a period of 5 years. So for achieving the over a period of 5 years, you need to divide your strategy into 1-year plans, right? So what is the first step while you implement the strategy? You divide your strategy into 1-year goals, that is generally short-term goals. Fine. Again, this stage is referred as your action stage and is most important phase of strategic planning, right? After formulating the policy, implementing them very much properly is very important. So what is this stage known as? This stage is known as your action stage, and it is considered to be the most important stage. Why? Because everything depending, the success of strategy depends upon the execution or action stage only. Fine. Now, the success of implementation stage is determined by the firm's ability to nurture an environment and a culture that motivates the employees to the work. Two important aspects: firm's ability to nurture an environment, right, and the culture that motivates employees to work. It is the ability of the firm, of the business, students, to nurture an environment. Whatever external facilities are there, external factors are there, how a business reacts to them, how the strategy is implemented, that makes the difference. Fine. So if it properly nurtures the environment, it supports the environment, and it is convenient with the environment, then your business will be going on. Culture that motivates the employees to work. It is the most important thing. If your employees are motivated, there is a work environment, there is a culture developed among the mindset of the people, then you can easily implement the strategy and you can find out the feedback from that. A manager's interpersonal skills are critical during this stage. What do you mean by interpersonal skills, students? How a manager again responds to the employees, how a manager communicates and relates to the employees, that is most important thing, right? So those interpersonal skills are very much critical during this stage. Effective strategy implementation also involves developing a functional organization structure, maximum utilization of information system, and redirecting marketing efforts. Fine. So these three are very much important at this stage also. When you implement your strategy, a functional organizational structure, right? Organizational structure, you all must be aware of it, horizontal structure, vertical structure. So in that organizational structure, when the functions are clearly defined, right? So for that you require at this stage maximum utilization of information system. Why maximum utilization? Because you need information before implementing the strategy. Once your strategy is implemented, you need again various kinds of data and information regarding how the strategy is performing, what are the loopholes, and from where you can do the improvement. So maximum use of information system is to be done. And redirecting the marketing efforts, right? The marketing efforts, whatever you are doing, I give you the example of your Geo Infocom, that is your a part of Reliance Industries. So today they have launched the Geo Meet also, they have launched again Geo Fiber also, they are into the Geo Mart also. So what they have done is they have created organizational structure first, they created the strategic for their expansion, then they are using maximum utilization of systems, they are collecting information from the existing net users, they are again contacting and doing marketing efforts to make each and every consumer aware about the product in the market. I hope it is clear, everyone. So what they are doing, they are strategically implementing all the decisions and the goals which they had taken. So is it clear, everyone? Fine. So what you need to do is once you decide the strategy formulation step, then you start with strategy implementation. In the strategy implementation, you divide your long-term goals into short-term goals of 1 year. This is also known as action stage, as you can see. Remember the key points. And the third is your, again, when you are doing into the implementation stage, two important points. Firm's ability to nurture the environment, and the second is your employees' motivation to work. And then you need to do three things: functional organization structure, maximum use of information system, and the next is redirecting the marketing efforts. I hope it is clear to each and every student. Fine. Now the third step, once you have formulated, you have implemented, the third step is your strategy evaluation. What do you mean by strategy evaluation? Once you formulate the policy, implement the policy, then you have to evaluate whether your strategy is working as per your decided structure, decided goals or not, and if not, what are the differences. We will see, students, as you can see, any business person knows that success today does not guarantee success tomorrow, right? You are not knowing today's success cannot become success for tomorrow. Things change over a period of time, at night also. Fine. So it is important for managers to evaluate the performance of various strategies after the implementation phase. Now this involves three crucial activities. What are these three crucial activities, students? First is reviewing the internal and external factors affecting the implementation of the strategy. Once you have decided the strategy, implemented, what are those factors internally and externally that affects the implementation of the strategy, right? For example, if you take the internal factors, it is your organizational structure, it is your employees, it is your financial resources which can implement the strategy effectively or ineffectively. The second step in that is your measuring the performance. You have decided the standards in advance before implementing the strategy itself, right? Once your strategy is implemented, then you start comparing and measuring the performance with the actual decided standards. So what you are doing, students, you are measuring the actual performance with standard performance. And many a times, most of the times it happens that your again actual performance is not as per your standard performance, right? So what are the variances, what are the differences, that you need to find it out, that needs to be brought in the light of the management, then corrective actions are to be taken. So first of all, you have to review the factors which are affecting the implementing of strategy, then you need to compare with actual and standard, and then you need to take corrective actions. So this is how strategy is evaluated. You will decide that whether the strategy evaluation is done properly or not, and if not, then you need to again implement the strategy in an effective way so that you achieve the organizational goals. I suppose each and everyone is clear with the three stages. What is it? First is strategy formulation, second is strategy implementation, and the third is strategy evaluation. Fine. So again, the steps and the processes differs from business to business, but in general these are divided into these three particular stages. I hope it is clear to every student. Fine. Now we'll see one chart related to steps in strategic planning, that is the planning process, right? Whatever students we have studied just now can be divided into the following stages, right? The very first stage of your strategic planning starts from the gathering of facts, that is gathering of information, right? Once you decide one goal, one objective, then you have to gather the information. This can be from various, again say, stakeholders. From that you can gather information from, again, shareholders. Customer analysis can be done. You can ask the customers, you can do a survey, what are their needs, what are their preferences and changes. You can do competitor analysis, what a competitor is doing. Industry analysis, what a entire industry as a whole is doing. For example, take the example of again we can say soft drink industry. There are two major competitors, there is Pepsi, there is Coca-Cola company, right? So for competitor analysis for Pepsi, they will do analysis of Coca-Cola, what they are doing. But when they are doing industry analysis, they will study the entire soft drinks industry, and they will start doing analysis of various drinks which are available in the market and what are the changes they need to do in their own product, right? Then they will do environmental analysis, what are the impacts on environment, what will be the future impacts on environment, company's performance and company strategy. So first they will gather all the facts and they will gather all the details and the information. After they have gathered the details, they will do SWOT analysis, right? That is basically related to your external analysis, opportunities and threats. As I told you, they are not in our control. Then internal analysis, that is strengths and weaknesses, right? They will decide the strategic questions and the strategic issues on basis of which the strategy will be decided. Now they will review the inputs which are given by all the stakeholders. Again, they will review the SWOT analysis and they will decide 3 to 4 statements, right? Out of all this, they will decide 3 to 4 major objectives or the goals or the statement on which your strategy will be formulated. After that, the strategic metrics will be decided, right? Strategic metrics means they will compare two or more elements within each other, right? So all stakeholders, then strategies will be designed and again defined. Then combinations will be done, right? What combinations? There will be a 2x2 matrix that will be related to SWOT, SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunity and threat. Opportunities versus strengths. What are the opportunities available and what are our strengths? What are the opportunities and what is our weakness? What are the threats and what are the strengths and what are the threats and what are the weakness, right? So internally SWOT analysis will be compared and a matrix will be prepared. After that, the strategies will be defined. Now this is the most important stage, right? You will decide the objectives, for what purpose you are deciding the strategy and what is the planning and what is the objective over a longer period of time you want to achieve. Then key strategies related to that, right? For example, my main objective is to cover the market share over a period of 5 years, as I gave the example earlier. So what my strategies will be based upon, my key strategies will be based upon the market share to be covered. What again policies I need to adopt so that I can cover the majority of the market share. Short term and long term goals. What I need to do in the first year, what I need to do in the second year, what I need to do in the third year, I will decide. And after that, operational plans. How to implement those goals which are decided and how to implement the plans or the strategies which I have decided, that I will determine. And the last is, once all the things are completed, implemented, final review will be done, right? Final review will be done by all the stakeholders, strategies, goals, plans and adjustments as necessary, right? So what you will do is you will review all the things which you have decided, then you will adjust if any changes are made, and otherwise the policy will be implemented, right? So all this are your part of particularly strategy formulation, and then it is evaluated, and then again it is implemented, right? So once formulated, implemented and evaluated. Is it clear, everyone? This is just for your understanding that so many steps are included particularly, but we have studied it under three heads. I suppose it is clear to each and every student. Fine. So students, what we have learned in today's lecture, we had started with the leadership part in the last lecture. We studied today the characteristics of leadership. We started with the strategic planning definition. Then we started with the process of strategic planning that included 3 steps: formulation, implementation and evaluation. Is it clear to every student? Fine. So far we have completed majority part of your unit 1. In the next lecture we will do the next part of financing the entrepreneurship forms and growth strategies related to that. I suppose it is clear everyone. Now I'd like to conclude today's lecture with the quote: "The sole purpose of strategic planning is to enable the company to earn the profit as effectively as possible, a sustainable edge over its competitors." Right? So what is the main importance of strategic planning is to make the company earn the profit and to gain the profit as effectively as possible compared to its competitors. Right? How we can proceed further, how we can progress compared to our competitors is again differentiated by strategic planning. So I thank all the students for your kind attention to the lecture. Hope everyone is in good health. See you in the next lecture, students. This is Professor Shaurya Shah teaching you Entrepreneurship Development SYBBA Semester 3. See you soon in the next lecture, students. Thank you very much once again.